We're going to move to a fireside chat, a brief fireside chat with Elif Polat, who's at the World Bank and is consulting with them to help them bring new technologies in for more humanitarian purposes. So let's make Phil welcome.
So my name is Elif. I've been with the World Bank for the last 4 years as a consultant to work with different projects. But outside of the World Bank, I've been very much ingrained with the Web3 ecosystem, especially in Turkey, where I'm from. And I've kind of seen, and I've worked at an AI startup, so I'm kind of in between big institutions and like impactful small projects. So I've seen both worlds. And the nature of the work that I currently do is basically trying to bridge the gap between the innovations that happen in the real world, and trying to bring that mindset a little bit to a large institution like the World Bank, which is the biggest financier of the development in the world. So I'm constantly trying to meet with people like you, try to do workshops, bring knowledge into the institution, and vice versa. Tell my crypto bros that they don't have to reinvent the wheel every day. So yeah, that's what I do.
One of the things I appreciate about meeting you, it feels like we're at an interesting point. Years ago, even a year ago, I would say, the Web3 world, the crypto world, which does offer so many new possibilities, I'd say typically it's terrible at explaining what it does in language that is actually easy to understand. And it's because by the nature of its progress and development, it had to be developed by specialists and people who really focus, and not necessarily communicators and those who can translate the power of it. And then conversely, and then someone who kind of got exposed to this world maybe 4 or 5 6 years ago, I saw the potential, but then looking at the large institutions like the World Bank, like IFC, like, World Economic Forum, it felt like those are so slow to change and so slow to be open to new ideas. And then we started having our conversation now, what kind of workshops we might be able to bring into World Bank, what kind of innovation you're bringing to them. It feels like we're at this interesting point where Web3 is starting to mature to the point that it is getting stronger at communicating. Big shout out to Kevin Owaki from Gitcoin, who's such an incredible advocate and communicator at B-board of communicating the power of these things.
That impacts DAO book that Kevin has, that sits on the World Bank, like in the desk. I've been distributing it everywhere. We need more of those. We need more digestible. Don't explain to me what's the difference between proof of stake and but with the other one?
Proof work.
Don't. Just tell me how it works. Don't even tell me how it works. Like, how can I use it? So, yeah.
So I was saying that the Web3 world is getting significantly better, so maybe room to grow or to go in terms of communicating the power of what it can do or could do one day. And it feels like the institutions, meeting you was a bit of a revelation, because here's someone who's working in the institutions, who's A, aware of that world, and B, actually trying to expose those in. And it feels like there's almost this convergence where this, immovable object of the Web3 or of the institutions and the unstoppable force of Web3 are starting to almost be ready for each other. And I'd love to hear, should that happen, and happy to have you here as someone who's trying to usher that new phase of development in. What do you think that can lead to?
So what you're saying is those two big financial institutions opening up on innovations, that is very true. Every big development institution has an innovation lab, and we've been testing with doing pilots with blockchain AI. Like, there are people, what you said earlier in one of your conversations, like having compassion for people who work there. I really do think that these are people with good intentions, but bad incentives, just like everything else like we've been talking about today. Like, for example, I was having a discussion with one of my friends who works at World Food Program, and she spent all her career in country offices, like not in HQ, not in DC, not in London, not in Brussels, but like in like actually where the kids Sudan and in Gaza. So her and I were having a chat about this incentives, and she's saying, you know, she's like, I hate the innovation teats. And I'm like, why? She's like, I don't have time to do an innovative project that will help 10 families in Zimbabwe. Like, I'm working on a famine in Sudan. But now she's based in HQ, and she's like, now I love innovation projects because I need donor money. You know, like that's kind of like the mindset that we have to bridge the gap also. Like we're, yes, communication is important to get funding, but it's showing results that are implemented on the ground will move the needle.
I think that's a really important and maybe not obvious point that we're introducing. Okay, these big institutions and they're doing their work and they're innovating, and you've got the kind of technology players. But within the big institutions, they're, you know, that's not actually an appropriate bucket, because there are those who are on the ground helping people have need today. And then there are people who are doing policy work and having meetings, and it's almost like they're different species within those organizations. And so it seems like, oh, you're almost pointing to, okay, the pathway would, I wonder, that be, okay, the policy people have to first get acclimated, approve and create budgets for small experiments for those that are on the ground, maybe not with the emergency situations that are dire in the moment, but maybe, you know, over weeks, months, so that things can be tested. Does that feel like maybe the path forward?
Right. Like the policy people need to understand the potential, and for that we need to do a better job in communicating the results, not the potentials. I think they've heard enough of what they can do. It's time to show what it's done, and today has been extremely helpful for me to take the messages back to DC, and but I'll have to spend some time to curate and basically disseminate the knowledge in a way that they understand. So we need more people to chime in that effort as well, and that can jump between two languages, a little bit more formal, or like less jargon, less fluffy words. So yeah, and like that would be the pathway, and from the bottom up, which was referred to in other conversations as well. There's so many projects, there's so many innovators that are doing actual work on the ground that's impossible for us to hear in DC. So you tell me how, like doing more of these, like coming to the events that happen in DC. Could all these institutions have open forums? They collect feedback from the civil society on everything that they publish. Like their mandate is to be transparent. So participate, ask questions, go to these events, and that would be my like bottom-up approach, and on top of the top-down approach.
So you're kind of in the midst, and it's your I think, and I don't mean you alone, but the kind of type person you represent, being someone who's in the institutions, aware of new possibilities, and trying to bridge those gaps. I think that's actually so important. So both for you directly, and for because, you know, we, even just the folks in the room, let alone our networks, let alone the larger global unity network, and on, and we have so many great community leaders here as well. How can we help both you? Like, what do you need, and what do folks like here need?
A good question. Everybody will tell you they don't have time. Like that's the first. I don't know how. I don't have the answer to your question, but that's one thing we have to fix. Like, how do we get them instant information that is digestible, understandable, without that fuzz words going around? So that's critical, because a lot of these teams need experimentation, right? And that takes time. And as I said, like they have a day-to-day job they need to finish, and anything innovative that you bring in is after 5 to 6 p.m. for them. So expect inertia. Inertia is norm. That's not an exception. Everybody will tell you, oh no, that's not going to work because we've tried this 10 years ago and it didn't work. So they're going to, they already have an established understanding of how things should be. And to shake that a little bit, we need results. I think that would be my main message. Another thing that you can do is me and my colleagues, we've been trying to put together hackathons. But one thing I've learned from the crypto community is how innovation can break about when you break it in different people and incentives together. So I've been dying to do these hackathons in the World Bank. I literally go and knock on the president's door. I'm not, you guys have to find me after I'm fired. It'll happen one day. But I've been trying to organize these hackathons to showcase these solutions that are already existing. There is the Youth Summit of the World Bank that's coming up in May next year. So we've been trying to see how we could bring in some innovative aspects there. How you can help is basically show up and then try to identify the right people to show them the results. That would be my 2 cents.
One of the co-founders in Transformative Impact Summit, Gloria Kimbwala, she's from the Web3 world. She ran the hackathons for Gitcoin and for Ethereum Denver. So she had a medical stuff come up, so she couldn't be here. But we've talked about, and this is where, we've talked a little bit about, today we talked a little bit, but yesterday was a really strong focus. At the beginning, if you were here, we asked who came because someone told them about this event. And if you meet someone amazing, which no doubt you will, that's awesome. And that's a new one of contact. How did that happen? It goes back to that weaver, goes back to that person who introduced you. And, Lara was talking this morning about the need for a shared grand vision. How does that happen? Only through people coming together. And so how do people come together? Someone encourages them to come together. They create a space, they make an introduction. And so that's a role that Transformative and Global Unity really aims to play. And we've talked about bringing some of these Web3 leaders, because even Ashley and Solar Foundation, they've done, like you talk about, we don't need theory. We need examples, and both groups have done some really powerful things, and that's where we feel that we can, and we've talked about, actually collaborating more. So excited for that. Thank you for being here, girls.
Thank you for having me.